Welcome back to Encut and welcome back to another movie review. Today we have a 2-for-1
Double feature.
Ooh, this is the first time we do this. It's just that there's so many good movies that are coming out right now.
And I think we've committed to seeing all of them.
Yes.
So we need double features.
Like there's Tron, there is One Bite After Another, Bone Lake. There's so many good movies.
Mind you, all of those he just listed, we still have not
We still
watched.
have not watched. So we just needed to get some movies out. And today with us we have Smashing Machine
And him.
and Him. Two really great movies.
Very different movies.
Very different movies, for sure. But I think we can go straight into it and talk about Smashing Machine first. But for that, we'll introduce our very good friend Tahim. So here it is.
So we are talking about the Smashing Machine, and the reason I wanted you on is because you actually like the sport. We've never watched it or even know
No,
who does it
yeah.
really.
Maybe had it in background once or twice, but
Yeah. So you can introduce yourself and tell me a little more about being a fan of the sport itself.
okay. So name is Dean Page. I am a fan of MMA. Let me think. I think I've just kind of grown up around the sport. Have a couple family members who do fight professionally. Obviously not on the UFC like level of that, but just grew up around the sport. A lot of people who enjoyed it. Even on just the casual level. Everybody get together for like a fight night or something like that. It was kind of like a part of it. So yeah, it's pretty much my extent of, my fandom.
Were you aware of Mark Kerr before him?
I've known of Mark Kerr. I wasn't really super into the history of it. I knew of Pride, so I knew all those Pride guys, a lot of the guys that were in the movie, the Mark Coleman, a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
Pride was honestly a bit bigger than UFC. I think they probably still hold some like attendance records. So a lot of the stuff that kind of was touched on, I knew of Mark Kerr, but I more was a fan of like Pride as a whole and like going and watching those old like tapes and stuff. So obviously you'll know the guys because he was the best in the world at that period of time. But that was just generally before my time. I don't think we were all like born there.
Not even, yeah.
No, and it definitely seems that it wasn't as much of a thing here in the US because there was so much more censorship, I guess, and so much more taboo behind the sport because it was bloody and it was bare fists. It was just a lot for American audiences to comprehend the game,
Yeah.
for sure.
They like a story, I think, of the fight. So,
Which is funny because WWE was such a big thing, and then obviously we had boxing, but there were different rules, and then obviously WWE with the whole thing about it being staged.
yeah.
Yeah. I think the big thing for UFC in the States, what I do know about that is, especially at that time, there was minimal to no regulation. What was going on in like Pride then, and like I think we'll go into it more once we actually talk about the movie a little bit, but them being able to fight upwards of 3-4 fights in a year, like that'll never, like that does not happen now. Like champions fight once. If they fight twice in a year, that's considered like, an anomaly. Like they're really outside, like they're really being active. So just the regulations were totally different back then. So that's really why it was illegal in the US, right? Like it wasn't something, it was very frowned upon. And if there were events in the US, they're all pay-per-view. So it really wasn't as accessible as it is now.
So this movie came out on October 3rd, 2025, and director Benny Safdie. I personally was looking forward to this movie for the longest time because there was a lot of talks. Initially, when the photos of The Rock came out as Mark Kerr and how he looked like a completely different person. And then obviously critics started watching it and reviews started coming out. People were actually making a fuss about this might just get him an Oscar, which I think is what built up all of this emotion for the movie. And
Yeah.
I think it delivered.
What do you think? Do you agree, disagree?
I think that it was a great movie for sure. Especially for what it was. I think The Rock's performance, I think it's his best performance for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I think I was talking to Caitlin about it a little bit. I think Emily Blunt killed it. Honestly, I think for me, she was kind of stole the show a little bit there. Especially with that whole scene of, they having that party at their house and
Yeah.
it gets into a fight and then she, obviously pulls out the gun and that whole bit. I think she just killed it. Like that scene still resonates. And I was like, damn, like she killed it, that whole thing. But definitely,
Yeah, I feel one thing I've seen something of her is to that level
Yeah.
of dramatic performance.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I definitely agree. But I think The Rock killed it though. I could definitely see if he gets a award. I don't think it would be like a snub of any kind. So I think he did well, definitely.
What were your overall thoughts on the movie?
So I enjoyed the movie. I have seen it twice now. I went back this past weekend. Yeah, I went and saw it again with one of my friends who is a little bit more into like the historian side of it. You'll see me and him kind of had that back and forth. Did my homework before I came on here. You know what I mean? Try kind of pull my weight a little bit. And so I will say my initial knee-jerk reaction of it was great movie all around. Definitely like really enjoyed it. Upon second watch, the fan in me kind of came in, was a little bit nitpicky. I think the fighting bit specifically, I think kind of fell flat, especially for me and my friend as like real fans who really watch the sport. But also understanding that this wasn't really about that, and it was based on the documentary. I'm sure like you guys know about the original documentary that the movie's based on. Yeah, so it's based on the original documentary. So I felt like for it to be just a portion of time and like a bit of a window during that documentary, I think it definitely portrayed it very well. Overall, I think getting into the choreography and just a little bit of things that I felt kind of they could have touched on a little bit more. But I definitely enjoyed it overall. Like overarchingly, it was a good movie. It was a good time.
Yeah, there are definitely a couple things, specific items that kind of got me a little annoyed that I wanted to see a little bit more. One of them was his first time in the octagon, because the fight starts, but we never actually get to see how he performed in that fight.
Yeah.
And I felt for the whole time that we are going to come back to it and see how he did, but kind of forgotten. And then the other thing that just annoyed me was, I mean, this happened in real life, how he got hit with so many moves that were just made illegal for that specific fight.
Yeah, I remember that.
That just stuck with me, and it was so baffling that that's actually kind of what made him go in this downward spiral of like, I lost, who am I? And one other thing that we're talking about the whole time was, are we supposed to like him? Because he's very unlikable throughout the movie.
Both him and Don. I'm not liking either of you, and it's such an interesting like snapshot that we're getting of them, because I felt like after watching it, like it's not like a full circle, oh, we're all happy, everything's great at the end that you kind of expect.
Yeah, like is it because the movie shows that they got married?
Yeah, so I'm just like, it's interesting that they would showcase that as like the beginning to end. Where I'm just like, why did you get married? Like, where's the happy ending? And even then, like, they ended up getting divorced anyways. But I thought it was so interesting to have a character that you root for.
Yeah, you're kind of supposed to root for.
But at the same time, in his personal life, I considered him unlikable.
Because then that ultimately made me feel like, and also he didn't win the Pride Championship. So it made me think that maybe our character should have been Mark Coleman all along, because he had a likable story behind him with his family and would have given us the satisfactory ending of him with the belt. But I guess that's not what it was about. It was about a message. Yeah.
The things with like his addiction to pills, like it was more, I guess, centered around that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things in there that I think the that first fight he lost. It was kind of interesting. When I went to go see it the second time, it was funny. My friend pointed out to me, and he was like, "That's not how the fight went." And it was interesting that you do point out, Sebastian, when you were like the whole like illegal shots thing. So
Yeah.
we were talking about it after the fact. In the actual fight itself, he gets hit with the shot. It does happen a few times, but that whole section of it and the back end where he gets up and he's protesting, that didn't happen. In real life, what did happen, he was knocked out, like they showed that bit. They called it in the ring. They said that that's illegal, and they called it no contest. And he got up, but because he was knocked out, he just was like, I lost.
I see.
And so when he woke up, everybody was telling him, well, no, you didn't lose. You're still undefeated. You're still undefeated. But in his mind, it was, I lost because he got knocked out.
I like that better.
I like that so much.
Yeah.
But I guess you do get to see, like, because right before they were asking him, what do you think your reaction would be if you lost?
Yeah.
And he had no idea what it would be. So I guess they've tried to give us that reaction of him.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that kind of attributed to him spiraling into the opioid thing a little bit. Because, like I said, in the movie, I think it's... Because we were talking... I was kind of trying to figure out, like, why would they change it? Maybe it's like a creative liberty they took, obviously, but maybe it's just the kind of way that it'll kind of feed the viewer a little bit that, like, oh, he lost, but he didn't feel like it was just. Whereas in real life, he felt like he lost. People kept calling him undefeated. He felt like it was undeserved. It kind of fed into that imposter syndrome a little bit. And that's kind of what really hammered down on him into that. Still using those opioids very strongly, it kind of messed with him mentally. Like, that's actually what happened. And it versed to him kind of coming off as a bit of a sore loser in the movie, which is why I kind of understand why you guys were, like, not a really big fan of him. Like, you know what I mean? So I kind of see it's very interesting to hear your guys' take on it.
Yeah, I think that would have made him a little bit more likable. Also, he had a messy relationship with Dawn. But I really thought that him coming back from rehabilitation was going to be that turning point in his personality of, like, now we really do like him. And we got a little bit of that when Dawn tried to do what she tried to do. And he kind of, like, made the right steps for her to get help as well. But overall, there were just two messy people living a messy life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's good that you picked up on that. Especially considering they didn't mention it in the movie. And I think kind of you were mentioning the Mark Cole thing. He really just wasn't training. Yeah. They kind of frame it like it was Dawn's fault. And I think she was at blame there, like a bit. But he was so good that he really just felt like he didn't have to train at the time. So that whole bit where he's drinking beer, he's all partying, you know what I mean? I think that it makes the story a little bit interesting to where, like, it makes sense for why the documentary was the way it was and why this movie kind of came from it. I think that if they did kind of touch on those little, like, nuances there, or even like how you mentioned before, talking a bit on his prior fights, like how he got the nickname the Smashing Machine. Like, I don't think a lot of people know, like, really how that happened. And you kind of just jump into it. I think, like I said, it's a snapshot, so it's interesting. But I think for the more casual viewer, I understood a little bit, but even I felt like I was wanting for a little bit more. I do understand, and it's kind of dope to hear that you guys were in there like, oh man, like, why is this the way it is? Like, I kind of want for that more. So I think it is a dope perspective to have.
Yeah, and I guess we're just so used to the Rocky movies that you see the fighter not be that good, or maybe be kind of like a prodigy, but trying to find, like, rags to riches.
Yeah.
And have that ending be the end all be all of the championship. And this was just a crude reality of his life. I do wish, however, that we got more than just the 3 years that we got to see more of him.
Yeah, because I think the most recent or biography, like biopic movie we watched was Bob Marley. And I think what made that one, because it was also like a snapshot, you did get like some background in that, but it was definitely like a snapshot of like his younger years.
Yeah, it was
like
younger, and then
and then to like when he was like more famous at the end. But what made that one different was that you already came into the movie with your your opinions about Bob Marley. Like he's a well-known person, so it's easier to sit there and view a snapshot when you already had a lot of info, and then you got just like nibbles of like the rest of like his early like youth before like going into like touring and whatnot. So it made it a little, but I guess a little bit more digestible to like a casual viewer because he's so well known. Whereas like with Mark, I went in there knowing absolutely nothing about him. So I did want more info and I wanted to know like why I should care about him and his journey. And I think like the addiction representation was really cool, like to see on screen, especially like the ugliness of it and how it can affect like your career and your relationships with the people around you. But I still wanted more.
Yeah, I mean, they did give us bits and pieces here and there with comments, like Mark Holman mentioning how they wrestled in high school and he wanted to be a wrestler and kind of planning to becoming this pride thing. So I'm sure they made a bunch of comments of the past and how he became who he is. And the audience just didn't get to see that.
Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts before we close out?
No, nothing in particular. I think, I did want to say this because I did remember when you mentioned it. Him and Dawn, their whole thing, after the movie ended, and like I said, I do understand why it's kind of the wanting for more. Just maybe if I can kind of give you a little bit of closure to that bit. After the ending of the second movie, after the ending of this movie, he kind of went on to have another prime. You don't get to see any of that. So like literally right after the cutoff, after Dawn got out of her rehab deal, he was kind of on his uptick. Hence why, the relationship kind of seemed, to answer that question of why did they get back together, he was doing a lot better for a while. And so they kind of reconnected after that bit. So I think, and he went on to win a few more fights after that, and then ultimately did go on to have like another relapse. But there's a lot to that story. But maybe to kind of give you that, like, soothe that a bit, that there was a little bit more to that back end.
And it was cool to see the real marker at the end.
Yeah.
Although unfortunate to see that he just went on to have, I mean, I guess that's what he wanted, a normal life, out of the public eye. I think, like, was it like a car salesman or something like that?
Yeah. And then he can just like live his life normally in Arizona, I think is where he is now. Just have peaceful
So that was very interesting.
Yeah. I think it's good. Overall for his story, he did end up doing a lot better. Like today, if you actually see, like, he's doing way better, and like, eventually did get over the whole drug addiction. He had like a whole health scare in between that time, in between like actually like post his fighting career when he was doing the car salesmanship, stuff like that. But it was good to see that he is doing well, and I think that that's ultimately what makes him a little more happy. Like the personality that shows in the movie, him being very docile. At the beginning of his career, he didn't even know if he really wanted to fight. So I think there's no regrets there, which I think a lot of people should like walk away with, like seeing like he is happy, like it is good.
Sure.
So I think that's a good perspective too.
How much do you give it out of 5?
Out of 5, I give it a 3.7.
That's pretty fair.
That's fair. Yeah.
I think I break it in bits and pieces. The Rock and I gave them like a 4.5 probably, and the movie overall I think probably closer to a 4. I think.
Yeah, I'd say like 3.5-ish.
Yeah.
For me, I could still get it. I could still see it getting nominated on performances. For sure.
And it will. I'm sure it will.
Definitely will.
Now onto a movie that just came onto streaming services, I think either this week or last week.
Yeah, I think it was last week.
Him was really good, but
not very loved by the critics.
Yeah.
which is very surprising for me because Jordan Peele was the producer and all of his movies are bangers. So right off the bat, I had a great expectation for this movie. And obviously from the trailers, I was just really excited.
Yeah, the visuals in the trailers really stuck out to me. It made me really want to know what this movie was about, understand all the creepy costumes.
Yeah, it was a new take on sports movies. It was a new take on horror movies. It was a new movie with Marlon Wayans. Wayans?
I'm gonna assume Wayans. Anyways.
Anyway. And I don't know, I think my hype for this movie did not let me see that other people did not have as much of a hype.
Yeah.
But I do remember anytime the trailer would play, after it was done, people would be like, what? Like, what is this? I get it. It's football, but horror? But how are you going to make that happen?
Yeah, like you definitely don't get the plot really from the trailer. And even to some extent, you have to really think hard about what the plot is while you're watching the movie.
Kind of, sort of. I mean, there is hidden details here and there that lead you to the big reveal towards the end. And that Marlon's character was bad all along. But I think you start all that. Yeah, I think. Because you see the fans that don't want him. So you start seeing this thing of like, he does not want to retire. Yet his successor is here already, ready to take his position. So, I don't know. I think this movie, in my opinion, was a banger. What do you think?
So, the thing for me that, if I remembering kind of how it was to watch the progression, I know we're mainly supposed to be in the mind of our main character.
Yeah.
And he's not supposed to know anything. He's supposed to be completely, utterly confused as to what's happening around him. But I also kind of felt a little confused about how everything he was seeing led to the final.
Yeah.
Because there was like things of suddenly people like taking photos of him in a hallway, and he's get like scared by that. There was one. I think it was the fans definitely when like that fan broke in
And try to kill him.
That was crazy.
But she was already there in the beginning too, saying, we don't want you.
Yeah, and then everything. Then we like first when like the wife came back, we saw her friends, like how that all related. I don't know. It definitely felt bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in a sense, it was kind of showing us the Babylonic side of sports that might also have this tint of like parties, cults. What are you willing to give in order to make it into the big leagues?
And I saw some people saying that it was all kind of like a lot of what he was experiencing was also because of his head injury that he got at the very beginning of the movie, which tracks. I mean, head injuries, you can start hallucinating.
I mean, let's talk about that for a second, because when he got hit in that football field,
at the very
first, I was like, was that real? Like this big guy in a costume, which, by the way, we got to talk to that actor.
And that will be out.
That will be out.
That was a fun costume.
Soon, yeah. And the crochet boss is what he goes by. But yeah, in my head, I was like, was that actually a thing? And then the next scene happened. And for probably half of the scene, they didn't acknowledge the fact that that had happened. So I was very weirded out. But then eventually they were like, yeah, no, a fan hitting you, coming out of nowhere, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and like the doctor recommendation. And obviously, you know, like seeing the stitches. But from like...
Which were really cool detail because the football also had stitches. It was just like a great, not callback, but...
It was definitely interesting seeing how the weirdness really started from that point on.
Yeah.
Because it definitely made you wonder, like, is this all in his head, or are these people just really weird?
Exactly.
Like that one fan at the very beginning when he's... what's he doing at the very beginning? He's at trials for something. Do you remember? I don't know football like that. I don't know what this.
I love again.
He has to go to like these trials to get on a football team, and everyone's there, and they're shoving.
Oh yeah,
they run.
he's doing the try. He's about to start doing the tryouts.
Yeah. And then there's that weird old guy that
Yes.
asks for his autograph. Creepily runs up to him in a hall.
I would have immediately left.
Yeah.
Tell you that much.
But that I think is like the first moment where I was just like, what is happening here? It's interesting because, okay, yes, this is all a cult. That's not the most surprising thing.
Yeah, no, I think you saw that coming. That was like pretty there.
But just the fact that like not only is like the team and the owner like the cult thing, but then
there's like cult
fans,
mentality.
It is cult mentality that goes
Like
with it.
this is my god, and here are my followers.
And I find it interesting, like when you understand the whole story about how he was basically groomed from a young age to end up in this position
By that
with
team.
this status. It's interesting that he had a relatively normal life up until this point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that we're getting him ready, and in his head, he had the option to go to absolutely any team because he was the best out there until he got hit, and we found out that he got hit specifically so they could single him out and get it for their team, which is an interesting concept because Marlon's character does not want him in the team, yet the team themselves are grooming him to get him in there. So it really shows you like how much was Marlon actually in on it with them, because the wife definitely was.
Yeah.
But
She had no qualms.
he died, and then I think Chad is the name of the actor. He came out of the walkway as the survivor. They didn't think twice about it. They knew what had
What I
happened.
wanted to happen. So yeah, it made me because when I initially like saw Marlon's character, I assumed to an extent.
Isaiah White.
Yes. I assumed to an extent, like, okay, he's getting replaced, but I'm not so sure he wants this to happen. But I couldn't always compare that to how he actually behaved.
Yeah.
Like, it seems on some instances he was like supporting him and egging him on and encouraging him, like when they were like practicing on like the field and doing drills. He was kind of like a good coach.
Yeah, and so from the trailers, you don't get that he's still playing football. You think that he's a retired player that came back to help this one guy.
Yeah, no, he's
and at the beginning of the movie, you do think that's the case because he is a kid and Isaiah gets injured, like really bad injury. So you think that he is going to retire, go on to get legendary status, and then help Chad's character on with his thing.
A very Cars 3 type plot.
Exactly, yeah.
Assume, but no.
No, this is a guy that's still active, does not know if he wants to retire or not, happens to have the same manager, and oh, yeah, I'm gonna help you get to them, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's very... Why would this guy that is currently here help you specifically take his position? Because if something is true in football, when you try to get the number one prospect into your team, is not to be the second quarterback.
Yeah.
So he's out there to get you. He's not going to be here to support you until you retire and then take your place.
Yeah. I guess that was kind of like a subplot we didn't see a lot of, is that internal conflict of like, do I follow through with my contractual obligations to be his mentor and then pass the torch, or do I off him and keep the torch for myself and let the owners deal with the consequences?
There's this one thing that happened a couple times in the movie, and it's Isaiah White saying, I'm going to stay behind and watch some tape. The first time he said it, I was like, oh, wow, it's the off season. He's watching tape. Like, this guy is committed. It happened another time, and it was like, it's the off season. How much tape can you actually watch? And you're kind of like a veteran. Like, I don't know how much you need.
Yeah.
And then we found out that the tape he was talking about is actually like in this dark room looking at the ceiling, and it's just a bunch of fans
Well, it's applauding.
clapping at him. And it was very... It was obviously the final boss room,
Yeah.
but it was very like cult mentality, like his own cult I'm the leader of you guys.
Yeah, he definitely got like obsessed with the fans loving him versus them being obsessed with like the team in general.
Yeah.
He did not want to give that up.
Now, going into the ending of the movie, I'm very happy that he did not go through with joining the cult. And it was so satisfying with seeing everyone get killed.
Yes.
That was very satisfying. And then we actually got a little memorabilia pamphlet afterwards, and they were giving them for like opening weekend. And based on that, he did go on to have a great career.
Yeah.
So
I wonder, because there is this, I guess you could call it like metaphor that I kind of got from the trailer, where he stands there covered in blood and like,
yes, oh my God,
like this whole
that didn't end up happening in the actual film.
It did.
It did.
Slightly.
It's like,
Or at least he was like there.
yeah, he was there. Yeah.
So it obviously was in my mind that it was almost like our main character was like the new messiah for the team.
Yeah.
And I got that visual pretty quickly just from the trailer alone and how he was poised. But I wonder if that plus a lot of the bizarre happenings in the film made people not like it. I haven't read any reviews, so I actually don't know exactly why people dislike it.
Yeah.
But it might have just not landed with them.
I feel like the message was weird, even though that was not the message. And that's not what he was going for.
Yeah.
So I guess people should have given it a chance. But yeah, I guess the critics did not like it whatsoever.
Yeah, I think for a film that has so much visual storytelling,
Really pretty looking too.
gorgeous, I wonder if maybe some people just weren't able to absorb everything that they were seeing,
Yeah.
or it was just too much for them. Because if you compare this, I know Jordan Peele didn't direct this movie, but if you do compare it to some of like the bizarre happenings in his other movies, this one is more visually bizarre.
Yeah.
There is still crazy things pushing the boundaries of like supernatural and reality. But the other movies had enough reality to be more impactful, I think, than this movie was on people.
Now, let's be honest over here. I think it doesn't fully intersect movie lovers and sports lovers. I think obviously there is an in-between, someone that loves both. But many times you're one or the other. And you're watching sports all the time or you're watching movies all the time. So this movie is definitely not for everyone. And I don't remember many movies that are about sports that do very well in theaters. So unfortunately, even though sports was kind of like the train for the story, it was a sports movie at the end of the day as well. And I think that's something that doesn't resonate with audiences all the time.
Yeah, it could be, you could like brush off because there was many training sequences. It wasn't all bizarre. You were watching this
Specifically
guy
for a sport like football, because you have Challengers, which obviously resonated with a lot of people, or King Richard, which gave Will Smith his Oscar.
Yeah.
But that's like tennis. Tennis is like a sport that doesn't have many avid fans. So it's easy, but it's easy for everyone to kind of like get a little bit into. We all know the stars. These are like worldwide famous.
Yeah.
But football is like, you know, the football fan. It's a very specific kind of person.
Yeah, I can understand that. Definitely. But it was still really entertaining, at least in my opinion.
I love sports, but I enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah. And I really liked what I thought was like the theme of like being so obsessed with like this one thing that your life gets taken away from you.
Yeah. And it was kind of poetic as well, because when his dad died, I remember him saying before him that he wanted to quit football, and he felt like that was letting his dad down.
Yeah. There was that other like more emotional story.
Of like, I have to make it for him.
Yeah. And I think maybe if you have more of that, it would have resonated with more people, because everyone can relate to being, well, roughly everyone can relate to being so obsessed with this future vision of like what they consider success, that they then neglect other parts that would also make them actually feel happy and joy and love on like a day-to-day.
Yeah, it's like making it to your 20s and realizing what have I done and how is that going to help me become someone.
Right.
And it's that feeling of like, have I wasted my time so far?
Yeah. But I don't think that
it didn't fully go in.
was... I don't think that was necessarily the main message, but I think that would have been something that would have resonated with more people.
Yeah, it was definitely something in the back of his mind, but it was overshadowed by the more fun stuff that also didn't fully land with audiences.
Yeah. It landed with us, though.
It landed with us. I love this so much.
Yeah.
Out of 5? It's tough. I'm super biased because I want to give it a 4. But just because of everything and like thinking about it afterwards, I'm leaning more towards like a 3.6, 3.7.
Yeah, I guess the 3 range, more mid-tier. I don't say it's 3 in the fact that it was bad. But 3 is like I enjoyed my time. But I don't know if I would necessarily like have like a lot of rewatchability.
Yeah, but I don't rewatch movies, so that's not really a factor for me.
It's a factor for me because I rewatch movies all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I still think it was a good movie, and I loved the visuals.
Yeah,
I'm very much a visual person, so that was fun.
But let us know what you think in the comments of this movie. Ultimately, it's up to everyone's decision to go or not go see a movie. But I think this is a movie that you should definitely see, especially that is now on streaming.
Yes, definitely go watch it. It's definitely one of those movies where I feel like you will, if we ever rewatch it, we'll pick up on more things. There's probably way more Easter eggs we didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Which is always fun with these type of movies.
Thank you so much for being here one more time with us. You can follow us on all social media as NCAT the podcast. Also, you can find us on YouTube for vlogs and other content as That Film Couple. You can follow me on Instagram as sebi.mp4.
And you can follow me at caitlin.mp4.
Thank you so much for being here one more time, and we'll see you in the next one. And cut. What a great movie. You gotta be more serious.
What a great movie.
You're so serious.
Okay.